So it's a terrible idea. It's immoral, etc. But I'm not going to let up on Donald Trump for 1 second rhetorically, because he is a monster. And he tried to terminate our Constitution. He tried to steal an election. I've never seen anyone so despicable in American politics. And by the way, there's another reason why I'm angry at him, because I'm a populist. And he took populism and he perverted it to just turning into his own personal con. He's such a slimy con man. I loathe him. Everyone should vote against him. He's one of the worst people I have ever seen in politics. And I'm not going to let him terminate the Constitution or destroy this democracy.
You see, what
Cenk Uygur was a guest on Piers Morgan Uncensored to talk about all of the violent rhetoric in our country lately, and he went head-to-head with Candace Owens and the founder of Blackwater, Erik Prince. It goes without saying, our favorite totally not right-wing host Piers Morgan chimed in too. Things get heated as they often do, so let's check this out together.
The outcome of the US presidential election will have massive implications for America and for the world. The candidates could not be further divided on issues like immigration, the economy, and the role America should play in restoring peace. Make no mistake, this election is transformatively significant. It might be one of the most significant, in fact, in our lifetimes. But it's not existential. Kamala Harris is not an actual communist. Donald Trump is not an actual fascist. And no matter what happens in the next 4 months, a new president will be sworn into office in January next year. Just one day after a second attempt to assassinate Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton said this.
And I don't understand why it's so difficult for the press to have a consistent narrative about how dangerous Trump is. The late, great journalist Harry Evans one time said that, journalists should, really try to achieve objectivity. And by that, he said, I mean, they should cover the object. Well, the object in this case is Donald Trump, his demagoguery, his danger to our country and the world, and stick with it.
Well, that narrative is dubious, and the timing was appalling. The media can be accused of many ill deeds, but failing to have a consistent narrative about Donald Trump is not one of them. This montage has now been viewed more than 30 million times in the aftermath of the latest attempted shooting. Excuse the poor quality, but the point is obvious.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right to the right.
Well, the full version goes on and on and on. Of course, it's not difficult to find examples of Donald Trump saying outrageous things too. But there's no real value in me highlighting them because they play on the biggest TV news shows all day, every day. You will have already seen them. Everybody has. And right now it's Democrats pushing the narrative that Trump, and only Trump, is to blame for the simmering and in some cases exploding tensions in American politics. Those tensions have almost got him killed, not once but twice in just 2 months. Surely enough is now enough. There are many unanswered questions about Donald Trump's security. There's a very live debate about who is to blame for this dangerously febrile atmosphere and what should be done about it. I'm joined by the host of the Candace Owens Show on Spotify and Rumble, Candace Owens, the founder and CEO of the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, and former Navy SEAL, author and founder of military contractor Blackwater, Erik Prince. Well, welcome to all of you. Cenk Uygur, there's a lot going on. I mean, the news cycle right now feels slightly insane. You've got Donald Trump nearly assassinated again, twice in 2 months now. What do you make of it?
Okay, first of all, on Donald Trump, what do you want me to do? The guy did a coup attempt. He had fake electors, not even his own electors. You have your own slate of electors. He didn't use them because they said this is unconstitutional and illegal. You lost the election. And he said, all right, you can get in fake electors. Let's do a coup attempt here. Let's have them bum rush the Capitol. And then that'll create enough confusion that we can bring it back to the states and the Republicans will cheat for us. They even wrote it in a book. Then he said we should terminate the Constitution because he lost the election. So what do you want me to do, Piers? The guy hates democracy. He's a dictator wannabe. So, okay, should you shoot at him? Of course not. Any action that is physical like that or violent is a surrender in the intellectual field of debate and ideas. So it's a terrible idea, it's immoral, etc. But I'm not going to let up on Donald Trump for 1 second rhetorically, because he is a monster and he tried to terminate our Constitution. He tried to steal an election. I've never seen anyone so despicable in American politics. And by the way, there's another reason why I'm angry at him, because I'm a populist, and he took populism and he perverted it to just turning into his own personal con. He's such a slimy con man. I loathe him. Everyone should vote against him. He's one of the worst people I have ever seen in politics, and I'm not going to let him terminate the Constitution or destroy this democracy.
You see, what I find extraordinary, Cenk, is you haven't even given it a beat since he nearly had his brains blown out on Sunday on a golf course.
Piers Morgan does attempt to run with the story that Donald Trump was nearly killed in the second attempt on his life, but the culprit was detained before he could even get a line of sight. The weapons were present and he was arrested with them, but the graphic imagery Piers tries to slyly throw in there doesn't quite match up with what actually happened with the incident. Cenk Uygur denounced political violence from all sides, but you can see where we're headed, where the other members of the panel are going to ignore that and act like the left are outright violent. Coming up a little later, we even see him denounce violence even more.
Which came 2 months after.
Did he give a beat, Piers? Did he give a beat? Did he ever give a beat when he constantly talks about violence? Hey, if someone takes out somebody from with a stretcher, I'll pay the legal bills. Attack people. Oh, my political opponents, I'm going to jail them. I'm going to attack them.
Well, to be clear, hang on. To be clear, you're trying to equate him making a joke about maybe slapping or punching someone in a crowd who's
a pattern you'll notice is anytime someone on the right says something violent in nature or alludes to violence, they'll try to play it off as figures of speech or edgy jokes. And on the flip side, the rhetoric from the left is to be taken at face value. Always.
Abusing him with someone.
Can I make a joke
with
about
someone taking an AK
Trump across the face?
Well, hang on, was somebody
can I make that joke?
Was somebody
Can I make that joke, Piers?
Well, hang on, somebody actually shooting him on a rally stage and then very nearly shooting him on a golf course with an AK-47. Do you not see the difference?
So, Piers, those are terrible actions. So what I'm asking you a literal question. What do you want me to just go?
Could you give it a beat?
Okay, now Donald Trump's a good... Hold on, let me finish the question.
On a human level.
Donald Trump's a good guy. Donald Trump loves democracy. Donald Trump's still the same monster he was yesterday. So I hate that people are shooting at him. It's so dumb. It's immoral. It's wrong.
Why would you be surprised?
I can't condemn it any stronger.
Why would you be surprised?
I'm not going to tell you that Donald Trump is a decent man.
But Cenk,
why would you be... grotesque human being.
Why would you be surprised that people are taking drastic action? Unhinged people with unhinged brains who are listening to constant rhetoric from people.
You didn't answer the question.
Well,
what do you want me to do? You want me to politically surrender, right?
I'm asking you a question. Do you not consider for a moment that within 48 hours you're still saying monster, demagogue, dictator, blah, 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 blah.
Because that's who he is.
Yes, but this is what is affecting...
So you want me to lie?
Yeah, because...
Piers, tell me this. Do you want me to lie?
Let me finish. The shooter at the golf course, specifically in his recent social media posts, parroted Kamala Harris, saying that he was effectively an existential threat to democracy in America. You're doing the same. Does nothing make you pause?
You're insane.
Hillary Clinton's doing the same.
Trump does it 2,000 times worse.
Because you think he does it,
your great idea is Democrats shouldn't campaign against your beloved Donald Trump because some moron, mentally unstable guy took a shot at him. Okay, or two of them did. You know what? I can protect Donald Trump. Ban assault weapons. That'll protect Donald Trump way more than any of, say nice things about him now that some lunatic took some shots at him. Here, let me be super clear. If you're on the left, I know the right-wingers love their guns and Second Amendment remedy, and they've been riled up to do violence nonstop. But if you're on the left and you do any violence, you are not one of us. You're a stupid person who does nothing but make a worthy cause look immoral with your insanity. Never.
I don't know how many times we have to see Cenk Uygur explicitly denounce violence because he is as straightforward and direct as he could be here.
Never do violence. Is that clear enough?
Or maybe when they constantly hear on the airways people like you and Hillary Clinton and others constantly depicting Trump as an existential threat to democracy in America.
Piers, you're totally guilty. You're guilty. You're guilty. Because you support Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has done 2,000 times worse, and you know it. You won't even run it on this show.
Okay.
You won't even run it on this show because Donald Trump, what he says is so much worse than anything a Democrat has ever said about him. So you won't even run it on this show. So that's it. Are you telling Donald Trump, you better shut up? You better not say any of those gross things that you always say. You know that he joked about smashing Nancy Pelosi's husband's head in with a hammer.
Yeah, and the truth
One
is,
of his
Cenk,
lunatic fans tried to murder Nancy Pelosi's husband, and he's like, it's so funny. Do you know that when they try to murder his vice president,
he then
turned around and said he deserved it?
He's
a psycho, and you defend him every day, Piers.
Here's the problem. You have no idea what I've said about Trump when he's done these things. If you had, you wouldn't accuse me of not talking about them, because
so are you
I always do.
To shut up?
Because I always do.
Are you telling him to shut up?
I want to bring in Candace Owens here. Candace, look, we're 48 hours after the latest assassination attempt, and I'm listening to another liberal who I respect. I've had Cenk on a lot on the show, absolutely losing his mind.
Bringing up the time frame irks me. It's like when a mass shooting happens and the leftists and the centrists and normal people are demanding change but get pushback from the right-wingers about it being an inappropriate time. If we're supposed to sit and ignore the rhetoric from Donald Trump and his supporters because this incident happened a couple of days ago, the question becomes, what is a good time to start talking about the dangerous things that Donald Trump has said?
About how despicable Donald Trump is and what a threat he is and a danger and so on and so on. Exactly the kind of rhetoric that Trump has said he believes is fueling these people to try and kill him. What do you make of where we are with this?
What I make of all of this is that if you are going to legitimately tell people that someone is a monster, that somebody is a dictator, that somebody is literally Adolf Hitler, if you're going to tell people that this person is a constant threat, why wouldn't somebody try to eliminate that threat? If this situation had been reversed and I had just watched somebody try to shoot Kamala Harris, I would be definitively saying how wrong it was. I would be saying to people that despite the fact that I do not want her to be president, of course, she is not so much of a threat that she needs to be shot. They don't stop this rhetoric because they do not want these assassination attempts to stop on Donald Trump. And I want to be very clear. The circumstance that we find ourselves in the West is one of remarkable privilege. And when you're in times of remarkable privilege, it creates actually an issue of having a lot of weak men, right? Weak men are the ones that are going out here proclaiming that Donald Trump is a threat, proclaiming that Donald Trump is somebody that is a dictator because they've never had real conflict in their lives. And you're about to see that example right now, the difference in the demeanor between someone like Cenk and Erik Prince, who I greatly respect, and who is somebody who has seen real conflict and understands what real threat is, right? He understands real threat. Cenk is somebody that grew up, obviously, with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's never had to fight for anything in his life and has never had to put his life before somebody else's. So it's very easy for him to behave like this, to behave demonstrably like a toddler who is throwing his toys out of the pram when he doesn't get what he wants. And so he heightens his rhetoric and says, why am I not getting what I want? This man's a dictator. This man's a threat. And he's not being realistic. And it's embarrassing to our country, whether it was a person on the right or the left.
You guys haven't addressed it at all.
Cenk, I promise you are capable of
controlling yourself. He wants to terminate the Constitution, so you like that? 3 minutes as
somebody else speaks.
Let me bring in Erik. Erik, you are a former Navy SEAL.
And a patient.
And a very patient former Navy SEAL, yes. When I look at what's happened here, there are lots of strands to what's going on. And we'll come to the security aspect around Trump, which I find pretty scary, actually, that twice people have, with extraordinary ease, got into positions to assassinate him in the space of 8 weeks, which I just find quite remarkable and shocking and shameful, and a disgrace that the Secret Service has allowed that to happen. But before we get to that, this whole...
They saved his life.
Well, they didn't save his life. They put him in a position where his life nearly got taken.
If the man didn't even get a line of sight on Trump and got detained, how did the Secret Service not save his life?
And that's the truth. I mean, because they didn't even check
the perimeter. Didn't even get off a shot.
They didn't even check.
Spreading conspiracy
they didn't
theories.
even check the perimeter of the golf course before he was exposed for 4 hours on that course 8 weeks after he was shot. It is unbelievable that anyone from the Secret Service would claim anything but a dismal failure of their preparation to protect the president, in my opinion. But we'll come to that. Erik, What do you make of this debate, which is raging right now in this debate now, about the rhetoric and the responsibility of people who are on the airwaves, who are in public life, to dial down the rhetoric?
Look, like the video clip you opened with, there's an enormous amount of apocalyptic language spoken by the left. Call it saying he must be eliminated, he is Hitler, and that unleashes every left-wing crazy to authenticate themselves by saying, I'm going to be the hero. This guy, this Ruth guy on Sunday, who was there for 12 hours stalking Donald Trump with a high-powered rifle with a scope, with ballistic plates up against the fence. And what did he have up there? A GoPro. Why? He was trophy hunting. He wanted to be the savior of the left, to say, I'm the one that killed Donald J. Trump. Trophy hunting, Cenk, for people like you responding to words that you're putting out there. Why else would he have a GoPro?
No, he wanted to get famous. You're totally right about that, Erik. And I hate that. But the way that this whole thing has been framed, as if the right wing doesn't do rhetoric that is 10,000 times more dangerous and violent over and over again. Trump's fans sent pipe bombs to every one of his enemies. Trump fans hit Nancy Pelosi's husband in the head with a hammer, and Trump never even denounced it. How
Candace Owens is making these expressions like all of these things are new to her. It is insane to me that they act like Donald Trump is a normal politician, but he'll get all of these people worked up by spewing all kinds of hate. But the left are the troublemakers.
sick is that he never even denounced it? He laughs about it. So if we were using the Trump standard, we'd laugh about him getting shot at. But I'm not as disgusting as Donald Trump is.
Nancy Pelosi's husband had an interlude with some bizarre gay lover. Trust me, that's wrong.
He wasn't on the right.
Oh my God, I'm on here with lunatics. I'm on here with lunatics and conspiracy theorists. I can't believe he just said that. And you're saying that the guy who smashed Paul Pelosi's head in wasn't on the right? Is that what Candace Owens, the lunatic, just said?
Okay, just so you know, if you're going to call somebody else a lunatic, you shouldn't be behaving like one in the process.
When you say, but Cenk, when you say these right-wingers are all nuts, do you understand the irony, given you just spent the last 10 minutes literally ranting?
Yeah, I do, Piers. So I am loud and aggressive because...
How is Cenk Uygur wrong? Erik here threw out a conspiracy theory about Nancy Pelosi's husband to try to minimize the fact that a guy hit him in the head with a hammer.
That's what the Democrats and the left wing need to stand up to lunatic bullies like this. Candace Owens just said that the attacker of Paul Pelosi was not a right winger when he is a Donald Trump fan and a deep right winger. And Erik Prince, the lunatic, had said that he was a gay lover of Paul Pelosi. A conspiracy theory so unhinged that how am I supposed to respond to it? You can't have a rational discussion with people who don't believe in facts and logic. Piers, are you agreeing with these two lunatics that he was not a right-winger,
you should have a little
and that
bit
he was
more
some sort of gay lover of Paul Pelosi?
Erik Prince as a lunatic. He served our country. You should have a little.
Serving the country doesn't suddenly make you exempt from being a conspiracy theorist. If the man is throwing out a conspiracy theory, he shouldn't just suddenly be respected for that.
Respect and decency.
Yeah, no, he's a mercenary and a disgusting guy, by the way. How many people did you get killed? Innocent people in Iraq, Erik. How many people did you have mowed down in Iraq, Erik?
You know, going back to your topic, Piers, perhaps it's time to bring back 19th century behavior, which maybe we had a more civil society then. If people are going to throw all kinds of bombastic language, they do so because they do it without consequence. In the 19th century in the UK, people would call them out for a duel. It doesn't have to be to the death. It could be swords. It could be bugle sticks. Maybe that would make for a more polite society. I don't know. I'm ready to go there.
You see that, Piers? You see that? Who's the first to threaten violence? Of course, Erik from the right wing. Yeah, whereas I denounce violence. I denounce it strongly and loudly, and you heard it with your own ears.
But Cenk, what I don't think you appreciate is how ranting, incendiary rhetoric of the kind you've unleashed so far in this debate yourself can, with an impressionable, unhinged person who believes everything you're saying about Trump, as Candace said, why wouldn't that person think to themselves, yeah, we've got to get rid of him, we've got to stop him?
Okay.
So my question for you is, if you can't even dial it down within 48 hours of a second assassination attempt on Trump's life, when can you?
So Piers, now let's have an intelligent conversation. Hold on. About where are the lines? Where are the lines? So he asked me a question. Where are the lines? So when Trump says these incendiary things that encourage violence, including laughing at smashing the head in of a political opponent's husband, that's what? Is that fine? Or he's bad too?
Well,
How long does he have to pause saying violent things?
Listen, I've criticised Trump for lots of his incendiary language over the years. But as far as I...
So how long should he stop?
Hang on. So far as I know, he's never called one of his opponents Adolf Hitler. And yet the left constantly...
Yeah, he did.
But Donald Trump himself calls his opponents enemies of the people. He says they're Marxists, they're communists, they're socialists. There are all of these labels he throws on people, not to mention the things he says about the immigrants, with the most recent thing being them eating pets.
Constantly,
I don't know about Hitler, but first of all, but Piers, you make it look like...
Cenk, here's my point. If the left constantly say, as they do, he's the new Hitler, who, by the way, murdered 12 million people with his Nazis, including 6 million Jews in the Holocaust. If you keep saying that often enough, as the left do in America, eventually an unhinged mind is going to think, I've got to stop the new Hitler. That's my point.
So first of all, I've never called him Hitler. But I love Sandra Day O'Connor's quote about, it was about Bush and Cheney at the time, about fascism. She said, we've got to be careful of these beginnings so that we don't get those endings. So what I'm worried about is a guy who says that he loves dictators and writes love letters to them, and that he loves it when everybody has to stand up and applaud and no one can disagree with the leader of the country. He loves it. He thought we should terminate the Constitution. When they said to him, hey, your fans are trying to murder your own vice president. He told Mark Meadows, his chief of staff, he deserves it. I have to tell people the reality about Donald Trump. So, Piers, what do you want me to do? Take a 48-hour break, a 72-hour break? Or maybe do you want me to take a month and a half of a break of criticizing Donald Trump so he can win the election?
It was interesting watching CNN yesterday, my old network, for example, where CNN finally... I do genuinely feel... very apprehensive about what is happening and what may happen. And I dread to think what would happen in America if somebody did actually assassinate Donald Trump, as they are repeatedly trying to do.
Yes, I mean, I was completely underwhelmed by the immediate reactions, even from Kamala Harris, just that simple tweet, and violence has no place, which felt like it was copy and pasted from a PR firm. There was no shock. There was no, this is absolutely wrong. There was no expressment of true frustration and disappointment, or even the recognition that could be her, right? Like if you're trying to be a person that wants to be the president of the United States, this could potentially be you one day. So you should be outraged. I didn't sense that outrage from her. And rather, what you have correctly attest to is they just kept going on with the rhetoric the very next day, which to me is signaling to their followers that
Donald Trump himself continued on with the dangerous rhetoric after the real assassination attempt. People thought we would get a kinder, more thoughtful Trump, but that change only lasted for an appearance or two while he was rattled.
This is okay. We're getting closer and we're getting closer, and we are fine with this. We're not going to turn down the rhetoric because you guys are responding correctly. One of the things that's really frustrating, I think, for a lot of people is to watch the way the media is constantly allowed to detach themselves from the consequences of what they say, which is to say that somebody shoots up and tries to shoot a president, and the media is like, well, I was just calling him Hitler, but I never said to anyone that they should go shoot someone. And like I said earlier,
the same media everyone on the right calls the enemy of the people.
What do you expect an individual to do when you are saying Adolf Hitler is taking the stage? When you are saying that we are going to completely lose democracy, which is so far from reality. It's embarrassing for Cenk to say that, because we don't have to imagine Trump as president. He already was for 4 years. People were living very well. The economy was doing very well. And so this rhetoric may have made sense in 2016. It doesn't make sense now in 2024. And so it's frustrating to see that. And I think what is good, though, is to allow people around the world to get this insight into what's happening in America, because you hear the left constantly purporting to be the side of peace, right? And then you watch someone like Cenk, right? And then you listen to people that are on the right, the awful people on the right. You listen to Erik Prince, you listen to me, and you're able to really comprehend who are the radicals in American society. Because you can scream peace, you can scream, oh, love is love all day, but you hear their rhetoric within 24 hours after a former president was almost shot, and they never dial it down. I mean, these people, I want and encourage violence all the time.
You see, Cenk, here's the problem. If this was Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, who had had 2 attempts on their life in 8 weeks, the idea that you would not, if anyone on the Republican side used the kind of enraged, ranting rhetoric you've deployed in this debate today within 24 hours of it happening, that you would go completely nuts at the Republicans for doing that. Okay. So my thing for you is you seem to think that the justification for all your rhetoric is that, well, Donald Trump does it. And that's kind of like the old school playground thing. Well, they did that, so I can do it. Where's your own moral line? Where's your line that says we're going to be better than that? If you genuinely believe that is wrong, that incendiary rhetoric is wrong, why do you deploy it?
So, Piers, no. The framing of this entire conversation is insane. So if somebody was just watching this conversation, they would think that I ordered an attack on the Capitol or that the left wing did. No, Donald Trump had a violent mob attack our Capitol, and then you make it seem like the left.
And you can see as Cenk Uygur speaks, Candace Owens makes these faces like what he's saying is in an entirely different language.
Has the violence problem. And then I strongly and very loudly condemned any violence. Shooting at Donald Trump is the worst thing in the world. I can't be any clearer about it.
But you don't
any assassination attempt, any violence, any physicality.
Yeah,
Hold on.
You don't condemn any of the incendiary rhetoric.
Let me finish my point. I condemn it as forcefully as I possibly can. And then what do the 2 right-wingers do? Neither one of them condemned the attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband. Instead, they came up with crazy conspiracy theories. And what does that do? It encourages their fans to go, oh, yeah, well, it's not a big deal to attack our political opponents. It's not a big deal to attack the Capitol. It's not a big deal to send pipe bombs to Donald Trump's political opponents. So they encourage this kind of violence 24/7, and on January 6th, we saw it in spectacular fashion. And then you're trying to reframe the debate as criticism of Donald Trump, legitimate political criticism of Donald Trump is somehow the thing that's causing political violence in this country. No, it is 98% right-wing political violence. The 2% where it's the left wing, I hate it, I despise it, I condemn it. I can't be any clearer than that.
Cenk,
We're going to wrap it up here, but I wanted to make sure we got to see 3 instances of Cenk Uygur denouncing violence. Not only that, but he brings up facts, actual things that did happen coming from the right, and you can see Candace Owens and Erik Prince reacting like Cenk Uygur is speaking nonsense. Cenk Uygur does get very animated and impassioned with what he's saying, but he's telling the truth and continually, explicitly denouncing Donald Trump's violent rhetoric. So what do you think? Do you agree with Cenk Uygur here? Do you agree with Erik Prince and Candace Owens? Be sure to leave a comment below. I love reading them and getting enlightened. I'll see you in the next video.